I'm Steve Sabol. One of the greatest values of sports is that they provide us with people worthy of our admiration, people who work hard, who believe in themselves, and who are committed to doing their best. Men like Rocky Bleier. After being wounded in Vietnam, Bleier was classified as 40% disabled by the Veterans Administration. Everyone thought that his playing days were over. But slowly and painfully, he rehabilitated himself. And he eventually helped the Steelers win 4 Super Bowls. Bleier never demanded respect from others, only an intense commitment from himself.
As a halfback for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Rocky Bleier, number 20, helped his team win 4 world championships. But his toughest battle was fought in a distant arena, far from the cheering crowds of the NFL. In the rice paddies of Vietnam, Rocky Bleier learned that a real battlefield has no champions, only survivors.
A machine gun, you could hear it in the distance, started to level the area. And all of a sudden, I felt a thud in my left leg. And as I looked down, I saw 2 neat little holes in my khakis. And then I could hear the guys hollering in the wooded area. You know, there's one. You know, watch it. Boy, they got Bill. Watch that one. Watch to get... Holy Christ, what's going on? They're everywhere. Now the helicopter comes in, the gunships come in, and they strafe the area with rockets. The company medic's now running around as best as he can. He gets hit. Radio man gets shot through the throat, and so he's out of action. We didn't know what we ran into, and so we set up a defensive position. So our commanding officer, Tom, was only about maybe 6 feet from me, and he was out looking over the top of the ledge to see what was out there. And all of a sudden, just out of the corner of my eye, I saw this grenade come flying through the air, and it hit him right on the back, and it bounced off of him. It was almost like slow motion. That grenade just kind of kept rolling right where it was. And in a matter of seconds, I had to decide which way to jump. And I went flying forward, and the grenade went off. Boom! Oh, I got dizzy and blacked out for a minute, and it had blown out this way. Fortunately for me, because if it had blown up this way, I mean, I might not be sitting here talking to you at this point. And so I caught some coming up to my right foot.
Bleier spent 6 weeks in a Japanese hospital, dreaming of a future the doctors told him he would never have.
So I said, well, Doc, I mean, my biggest concern is that I'd like to get back and play. I said, at this time, what's your prognosis? He said, well, in all honesty, Rock, seeing the damage that has been done, he said, the ability to run is gone. I mean, you will not play professional football again.
In the late autumn of 1969, Rocky returned to Pittsburgh. His foot was stitched and scarred, but his spirit was unmarked.
I didn't want to get to a place in the future and say, you know, maybe I could. Maybe I could have if I would have. Maybe if I tried, I might have been able to play. I liked playing football. I liked what football gave me. At least I wanted to give it a shot. And so that if I got to the point and didn't make it, I never had to look back and say I didn't try. I would spend hours in that weight room just lifting until I could finally start running again.
In 1970, Bleier reported to the Steelers training camp, but his future in football looked bleak.
Rocky was so beat up that when he first tried to run up and down the field, you could just see that every step hurt him. And, you know, my thoughts then, I said, boy, why is this guy even trying to play this game? Because, you know, he's going to hurt himself worse. He's, you know, he's just never going to be able to succeed.
No one thought Rocky would make the team. Certainly not Chuck Noll, the new head coach.
There was no way Rocky could play, in my view. In fact, I asked him at one stage I thought maybe it would be better if he had retired.
I was crushed. I remember leaving practice and was driving up to Green Tree where I had an apartment. I mean, tears were coming down my eyes. My world had just caved in. I feel like there was no hope left. And it was something I couldn't control. I mean, maybe I would have felt better, if I gave it my best shot and I had control over it. But I couldn't control because the foot didn't react the way I wanted to.
Tony Parisi, our equipment manager, after talking with Ralph Berlin, our trainer, came to me, and he said, listen, he said, you really have to do something. He said, about this Rocky Bleier. He said, this kid is just killing himself. He said, he's not going to say anything to anybody. He says, but he's just suffering so much. He said, he's come to me at night and asked me to remake his shoe. He said, I put a special thing under his instep, but he has nothing but scar tissue there. And he said, it's just the most agonizing thing. He said, that kid cannot go through what he's doing. So what we really did was put Rocky on the injured reserve list, sent him to the doctors, and when our doctors operated on him, they actually found a piece of shrapnel in his foot that was not able to be taken out at the time, and they removed the scar tissue. And then the story, of course, is legendary, what Rocky did after that.
The next year he comes back, and he's still not 100%, but he's able to run a little better. You can see a little bit of improvement. I still wouldn't have given him a nickel for his chances of ever succeeding. The following year he comes back. I mean, it was just phenomenal, the rate of improvement and how he had just conquered all odds.
In 1974, after 5 years of rehabilitation, Bleier won a spot in the starting lineup and a place in the hearts of football fans everywhere. Everyone was inspired by the gutty young man whose hard work had made a dream come true. Straight-ahead will and determination put him squarely in the tradition of men who have been at the heart of winning teams. In each of his 5 years as a regular, the Steelers won the division championship. And in 1976, Rocky became only the 5th player in NFL history to gain 1,000 yards in a season after reaching the age of 30. In any field of human endeavor, whether it be art, science, or sports, we are apt to find at least one person who serves as an example of the triumph of the spirit. In this figure, we are able to find a measure of our own possibilities instead of a reminder of our limitations. The NFL has its example. His name is Rocky Bleier.
This is for Mr. Blanchard, who told me to make something of myself. For Miss Miller, who never let me settle for a C. For my parents, who believe in my dreams. For myself, for my future. Be all that you can be.
You have 2 bodies in the morgue. No prints, no weapon, no witnesses.
He knows who you are. He knows where you live. He knows what you fear.
You ever see anything like that before?
Yes.
On October 31st,
What the hell?
you will know the meaning of absolute terror.
Who are you? Oh, my God.
Switchback, rated R. Starts Friday, October 31st everywhere.
Dave Thomas is still looking for people who haven't tried Wendy's new fresh stuffed pitas.
Peggy Shea.
Yep.
I see here you haven't tried our pitas.
Oh, yes, I have. And they're delicious. So fresh. I really like the one with chicken and ranch dressing. I also like the garden veggies. Of course, my favorite's the chicken Caesar. Now, my daughter, she loves the classic Greek.
We stuff our warm, soft pitas with fresh vegetables and tender chunks of all white meat chicken.
Must be a different Peggy Shea.
Wendy's fresh stuffed pitas. Don't be the last one to try them.
I'm Ironhead Hayward. I'm used to challenges, and I challenge you to try Zest deodorant body wash. Now, I hear you snickering.
But Ironhead, aren't body washes for ladies?
Ow! Listen, chump. Zest doesn't have heavy moisturizers.
But Ironhead, what's with this thingy?
That lather builder works with Zest body wash to give you twice the fresh-smelling lather of this bar, and it rinses cleaner, so you're cleaner, more refreshed, period.
Zest body wash. Get cleaner, more refreshed.
Get zestfully clean.
As captain of Vince Lombardi's world champion Packers, defensive end Willie Davis was an unbudgeable pillar of strength and integrity. It was easier to block Willie than to find someone to say a bad word about it.
In 1960, a black man in Green Bay looked as out of place as Little Richard on stage at the Grand Ole Opry. But in a 10-year career, Willie Davis took his place as one of the great defensive ends in pro football history. He was the war eagle of the Packer defense, swooping in with wings extended and talons bared.
He was a very small player by today's standards, but gosh, what a competitor. And he got more done, I think, with what he had to offer than anybody I know of.
One of the smaller defensive ends in the league. And I always thought I could block him because he was just too small. What I found was that he was very aggressive in chasing the plays.
Defense, you kind of play with frenzy. You play it with excitement. It was much more exciting to me to be on the attack.
I can't ever remember a football game that he played in where I didn't think Willie Davis played absolutely the best he could possibly play that day.
Davis's fierce determination was born against the Philadelphia Eagles. In the fourth quarter, the man Vince Lombardi said would run across a minefield to make a tackle, hit a tripwire, and title hopes exploded.
I felt that we played maybe cautious, and maybe we were just happy to be there. What I remember most about that ball game is on a play that ultimately turned out to be the big play. And it was a sweep away from me. I chased the play, but I was concerned that maybe I was going to overrun the play and it was going to cut back. And I was kind of like the trail man. As it turned out, all the blocking got wiped out. He turned the corner and went about 30 yards on a third down situation. And I tell you, I lived with that play the entire offseason. And I said, never again in my life would I not make a play that I know in my heart or that I feel that I was supposed to make.
Willie Davis's vow echoed in stadiums and across championship fields that resembled backdrops for the Hound of the Baskervilles. It was here that a Packer defense whose principles were carved in stone became as solid and lasting as Stonehenge. And always there was Willie chasing Unitas in the fog and causing the $1 million fumble. Slogging through the mud to sack the Browns' Frank Ryan in the 1965 championship. Ignoring frostbite in the chilling championship of 1967.
Of all the defensive ends that I had to look at, I mean, he put as much fear in me because of what he could do and his abilities as any defensive end that I had to face. I mean, you didn't block him.
In Super Bowl I, he punctured the famous floating pass pocket of the Chiefs' Len Dawson. And in Super Bowl II, Davis' ferocious charge shoved the street fighters in silver and black into back alleys.
I would like to be remembered in Green Bay as a guy who gave his all. Whenever I had a chance to walk on the field and play, that I played with a certain desire and a certain determination.
Willie Davis is the finest combination of leader and player that I ever saw to this day.
Willie Davis was a leader in Green Bay, Wisconsin, for the Blacks and for the Green Bay Packers on defense. He did the job.
I'd just like to say that it's been a great time for me the last 10 years playing here for the Green Bay Packers. I'm surely indebted to my teammate, the Packer organization, but most of all, to you, the fans. I would just like to say it's been more than a game. It's been a way of life. Thank you.
Introducing the first ever daily protein remover for soft contact lenses. Optifree Super Cleanse. It keeps your lenses like new longer. Call and try it. Free.
Hello? A free sample? Free is good if the product is great. So what would be great is some cold, hard facts, right?
Fact. People who use Super Cleanse every day for 6 months said their soft contact lenses felt as comfortable as a pair less than a week old.
Contacts I start wearing in winter can feel as comfortable as new. Come summer, it's got to be hard work, right?
Super Cleanse is easy. Just one drop in your lens case overnight with Optifree Express multi-purpose solution. It's unbelievably simple.
Just one drop while I sleep. I'm dreaming. Now this free sample. Please tell me it's not a one-time shot. Please tell me it cries out, try me again and again for a whole month.
Okay. We'll give you a 30-day supply free.
Sold.
Call now for your 1-month supply of Optifree Super Cleanse or buy some wherever lens care products are sold. Try it. Feel it. Believe it.
Bring it on! The top 20 tennis players in the world take center stage on the fast court in Stuttgart. The Eurocard Open. Coverage begins Thursday at 4 on ESPN.
This is Rich Eisen. Later on SportsCenter, it's back to Cleveland for the World Series where we could have some frozen fish. The Blues look for 8 straight and some milestones to report in Monday Night Football. Join me and Stuart Scott, SportsCenter, 11 Pacific.
At 5'10", 172 pounds, Bill Dudley was not a big man, but he could do it all. He ran, passed, kicked, and played defensive back. And in the end, he earned the ultimate respect, induction into the Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame fullback Bill Dudley earned a spot in Canton by doing many things well on a football field. But those who chronicled his exploits constantly struggled to find a nickname for the Pittsburgh Steelers star.
Sports writers like to try to come up with some kind of a moniker. And particularly when I was at the University of Virginia, they were trying several. They were I was called Beacon Bill, I was called Bluefield Bill, and so all of a sudden they picked on her. Somebody came up with the term, I don't know how, the Bullet Bill. I was not fast at all, frankly, because I was very slow. Paul Brown was talking about an experience in 1951 where I take a punt, and I get behind the wall of blockers, I'm in and out, and I'm running down the field for a touchdown, and he's outrunning me to get to the end zone, saying, come on, Bill, come on, come on.
Dudley may have been slow, but he was also versatile. Throughout the 1940s, Bill did virtually all the Steelers' punting, kick returns, place kicking, pass intercepting, and ground gaining, leading the league in 7 different categories throughout the course of his career.
Bill Dudley, I thought, was one of the great all-around football players of his time. Like, he could do everything. He could pass. He led the league in ground gaining. He was one of the best defensive backs, I believe, that ever played this game. And he did everything very unorthodox. If you looked at him, he didn't do it natural.
Dudley, number 35, played an unusual style. And his distinctive pendulum kick, which he used for field goals, was unlike anyone else's. But what he lacked in classic form, Dudley made up for in flawless football instinct. In 1946, he ran and passed on offense and played defense while lifting the Steelers from last place to second in one of the great single-season efforts in NFL history.
I was averaging about 50 to 52 minutes a game, and I led the league in ground gaining. I also led the league in pass interceptions with 10, and which at that time, playing both ways, was quite a feat. And then I also led the league in punt returns. So it was just so you just did everything if you played.
Dudley performed so well that he was named league MVP. it is unlikely anyone will ever again win the rushing and interception titles in the same season. Hall of Famer Bill Dudley, a man who looked deceptively average, a man who never played for a championship team, but for 9 seasons he did more of everything better than anyone else who played the game.
At Firestone, we take our competitive traditions seriously. Take our sale on steel-belted radials. Now competitively priced at 4 for $99 with a 45,000-mile limited warranty. So hurry into Firestone.
The aluminum in your car radiator is as thin as this sheet, and it's the only thing between you and a breakdown. But Prestone Antifreeze bonds with aluminum, forming a zone of protection against corrosion and temperature extremes. Protect your car in the Prestone zone.
Jim Harbaugh and Jay Lewenberg for 1-800-COLLECT.
Jim, next time you call me collect, call me 1-800-COLLECT.
Jay, give it a rest.
No, 1-800-COLLECT is 10 cents a minute every evening all week long.
Yeah? Are we going to practice or what?
Think Jim's learned his lesson? One more play ought to do it. 1-800-COLLECT. 10 cents a minute every evening all week long.
Interestingly enough, it was my daughter's idea. Through small minds come great ideas. She was looking over these pictures of black and white. She said, Daddy, wouldn't it look nicer in color? And I gave it to our technicians. I said, could we replicate this on television? And since then, we have spent literally hundreds of dollars in attempting to do that. And, see, she had trouble staying between the lines. I hope our people do a little better job.
Jack Kemp bounced around with several teams his first 6 years in pro ball. Despite his lack of initial success, he toughed it out and eventually found a home in Buffalo, where he earned respect for himself and 2 titles for the Buffalo Bills.
Like other American success stories, the career of Jack Kemp sprang from modest beginnings, originating in pro football's equivalent of the log cabin.
In 1957, the Detroit Lions, I was 17th, I think, round draft choice. Buddy Parker was the coach, and Bobby Lane and Tobin Rote were the first 2 quarterbacks. So I was on the block early in my career, and Buddy Parker went to Pittsburgh, and a couple weeks later took me with him. So I ended up in Pittsburgh for a year and a half with Earl Morrill, Lenny Dawson, and myself, and Buddy Parker, and all of the rookie experiences. It was great. I knew he was different in those days because most guys, you know, when they would read, what would they read? They'd read the sports pages or the comic section or something like that, sports magazine. He was reading political books and things like that with no pictures in it. So I knew at that time he was destined for big things.
But the Steelers' Buddy Parker did not quite agree with that assessment and released the studious but seldom used Kemp after just 1 season.
I went from the Steelers to the Giants. I punted a little bit and hanging on by the skin of my, teeth. And so when the American Football League came along, more teams, more players, more jobs, more opportunities. Sid Gilman took me to the Chargers. I didn't start out very quickly, but Gilman stuck with me. Maybe he didn't want to. I never knew what went through his mind, but he did. And we had some good football teams in San Diego. I could throw a football. That's about all I could do at the time. But I think Coach Gilman was able to convert a strong arm into hopefully an accurate one as well. He had an arm. The guy could throw the ball through a building. And the first couple of years, he had 1 speed. That was a problem. I mean, receivers would be coming back and say, my God, this guy's going to rip my hands apart.
Once Kemp was able to put touch in his tosses, the Chargers became one of the AFL's most successful teams. In each of his first 2 seasons, Kemp guided the team to the Western Division title. And with young and talented players around him, Kemp's future seemed as bright as the San Diego, California sun. But in 1962, a serious hand injury sent Kemp to the sidelines. Due to technicalities with injured waivers procedures, the Chargers' Sid Gilman was stunned to learn he had permanently lost the services of his starting quarterback. Jack Kemp was forced to leave his native California to join his new team, the Buffalo Bills.
They came to our planet. They destroyed our cities. But on November 7th, they'll learn they messed with the wrong species. Starship Troopers, rated R. Opens everywhere November 7th.
Hey, stranger, where you been?
I don't smoke anymore.
Sorry. I mean, great. How'd you do it?
Nicoderm CQ.
CQ? Isn't that the patch with the, 3 steps?
Mm-hmm. I'm doing the steps.
While Nicotrol has only 1 step, CQ has 3. So you gradually step down your dose the way doctors and pharmacists prefer.
Steps, Dad. The way to go.
Nicoderm CQ. The power to calm, the power to comfort, the power to quit successfully.
Saturdays, the action kicks off on campus. Join Chris Fowler, Lee Corso, and Kirk Herbstreit for college football's best pregame show, College Game Day. This week live from Michigan State University, only on ESPN.
He came to us with a bum hand. We stayed with him for about 6 or 7 weeks until he began to heal, but about that time, when Jack became well, the fortunes of the Buffalo Bills began to change.
With their new quarterback, the Bills became winners, but Kemp, more accustomed to the wide-open style of the Chargers, occasionally disagreed with Saban's more conservative strategies.
Jack Kemp, as a player, was at times very stubborn. I remember one game in which I insisted that he throw a particular pattern. Nothing seemed to happen. I said, Jack, do you mind if we discuss this at halftime? He says, well, fine, Coach. I'd be very happy to discuss it with you. I said, Jack, I want you to throw 52. I don't want to say it again. And he looked at me and says, but, and I picked him up. It happened to be an open locker behind him. And I shoved him into the locker. And I says, Jack, do you understand me? He says, yes, sir, Coach. And we threw that pass in the second half. I think he must have rolled up over 100 yards just with that one particular pattern.
Kemp's determination was also his greatest attribute, as the Bills would discover for 3 straight championship seasons. In 1964, Kemp beat his former team, the Chargers, 20-7, giving the Bills their first ever league title. A year later, Buffalo beat San Diego again for their second AFL crown. Kemp became a household name and a respected figure throughout Western New York, quarterbacking the Bills for the remainder of the decade. But by 1969, new challenges awaited.
Now, I had spent 13 years throwing a football, and I'll be honest, whether my arm or elbow had started to give out, I couldn't throw as well as I thought I wanted to. I was president of Football Players Union or Association. I was an activist. I would have been called a clubhouse lawyer if I'd been a baseball player, because I loved organizing people and talking about issues and ideas. So the Republican Party said, hey, Kemp, why don't you run for Congress? And I thought about it, and if I'd lost, I would have come back. I had a no-cut contract. I could have come back and exercised the no-cut clause. In fact, I've had a lot of fun over the years telling people that if they didn't like me to Congress, I'd come back and play quarterback for the Bills, and that's how I got sent to Washington. It was another manifestation of a lesson I had learned early in my life, to be there at the right time and to take advantage of opportunities. And I had the great blessing and opportunity to serve the people of Western New York for 18 years in the United States Congress.
Jack Kemp, a football and an American success story, with more chapters still waiting to be written.
Bleier, Davis, Dudley, and Kemp. These men are the exact opposite of Rodney Dangerfield. They get respect because they earned it. Football's work. It's hard, and it demands a lot of drudgery. But it's neither romantic nor sentimental to say that those who pay the price of excellence in any profession, football or anything else, are men of respect.